Say anything about the first memory. I think I can come back to the childhood. I remember 8 or 9 years old. We used to do lotto in the street with the groups. We call it mawkib. So we're going from Hussainiya to Hussainiya. It's actually in my city in Iraq. I'm from Shamia city in Iraq, and we used to have mawkibs going from small places or from small tekia to the main Hussainiya we got in the city. So at that time, we actually taking our clothes off from the chest side. Then we start doing lottom till we reach the men. That's I remember that exactly. It's still in my head.
Alhamdulillah, my first memory of Imam Hussain was when my parents used to take me to mosque during Muharram especially, and I used to sort of wonder why at that time people were wearing black and all the rest.
My earliest memory is when I was 12 years old and I was taken to the Hussainiyas. It is the first time I remember the majalis and remember the pain and suffering of a personality in Islam named Imam Hussain.
I remember 8 or 9 years old. We used to do lotto in the street.
I always wondered why people cried for him. But as I grew a bit older, I understood what made him different.
I still remember our first recitation was in the ladies' side, where my mum held us up to the mic, and we recited our very first Noha.
ما اريد كلام راح تطلعون انتم مفصولين من الحزب قسما بالله اللي اسمع همسا يحكي ويا مواطن عراقي او بعثي الا اطر بيدي 4 وصل. سمعتوا زين؟ الى ان تكرر.
I think to remember the time during Saddam regime and to talk about the life in that time, I think is the best way to come back to the old and ancient battle between tyrants and the messengers of God. So if we remember that, so with every tyrant we will have a battle. And in my age, I remember the battle with the Ba'athi regime. The Ba'athi regime start with Ahmed Hassan al-Bakr, and then it's getting worse during Saddam time. So being Muslim Shia, practicing Muslim Shia during Saddam time, and while you're studying in university as a young person, so you have two choices: either being religious and death and torture, or you need to forget your religion. Initially, in the late of 1960s and the early 1970s, the Ba'athi regime was weak as they started in 1968. We had mawakib, we had majalis, we had sha'ar, especially in Ashura, we had Tuwairij run, the Rakda Tuwairij, and we had the Arba'in Mashaya, the long walk, or what we call it marathon. It's not a marathon, we call it Mashaya, the long walk to Karbala. After years, and after the first clash with the regime in 1973 and 1974, and the execution of some of the ulama, Arif al-Basri and his group, rahmatullah alayh. So actually start putting a pressure in all sha'air and mawaqib. And by Intifadat Safar, the Safar uprising in 1977, and when Sayyid Muhammad Baqir al-Sadr and other ulama being arrested, and so many people being killed and tortured, and even the Ba'ath regime, they used the fighters, the planes, to fight people, and actually use an army between Najaf and Karbala. So many people killed, arrested. One of them, my eldest brother, being arrested for 1 month, and he was so young in that time. It was, I think his age about 17 at that time. So after that, the Sha'air Mawaqib being minimized just to the main holy cities. And the most of other cities of Iraq being the Mawaqib being limited or even being vanished. And it's just being secretly held for places, or sometimes people, when they're doing that, have to face arresting as well. So people try to go for Najaf or Karbala to attend very small majalis, and especially staying Ashura Day, and people going to Karbala and attending Rakdat Tuwairij run. But again, in Tuwairij run, the regime, they using different ways to arrest people. Any slogan, any shouting you say, even if you say Abad Wallah ma nansa Husayna, swearing in God, we will not forget you, Hussein. Even if you just shout in this slogan, it's been okay, you talking politics. You will be arrested. And how? They're using the color spray people during the run. Then they try to catch you when the run is finished. So you will have a mark in your back or in your head. You will never get rid of it because as a permanent colored spray, and they will arrest you and they took you, and you never know, you will come back again or you will be lost. I remember it's like the first days of Islam, how people practicing deen, practicing religion in a hidden way and secrets, and you should never had a beer or showing that you are praying, fasting. So you need to keep everything in secret. You should never show that you are religious. There is no useful material in the shops like audio cassette or books or leaflets to read about your religion. So you have to actually to suffer and try hardly to find someone who he hides some books that you can use them and read about. And even that, you will face a trouble with the regime. A trouble, it's mean a big trouble. You go to prison, you will be hauled away, no one know about you, and in a most situation you will lose your life. We always remember when we face any trouble, and during the time of Saddam Hussein, we always remember Imam Hussain. I've been in prison for 14 months. I face execution sentence for 7 months. I've been giving this sentence by what is called Awad al-Bandar, the one he been under the court for a long time in Iraq, and he been given a sentence of execution and has been done that. I remember his court has taken about 7, 8 months or even more. But my court, it was about 10 to 15 minutes. And we've been 9 people. He gave me and my friends, both of us, sentence of execution. And he gave other 6 people sentence for life. Within 15 minutes, he finished 9 people actually. And the youngest was 21 years and the oldest of us was 25 years. All of us as a uni students within 15 minutes. The most reason for that, because we've been religious, practicing Muslim Shia, and we are not agreeing, we are not in the same line with tyrants. That's the problem. You have no right to say anything.
We sat stunned as we drove into Karbala. In biblical style, Saddam's troops had razed the town centre to the ground. What bloody battle, unseen by the Western media, had brought such devastation here, only 100 kilometres south of Baghdad?
The uprising time in 1991, I remember before that, when it was the Gulf War, the second one, when Saddam invaded the Kuwait. And that time, me and my brothers being in the military service, all of us, we left the service, and I think everyone know what does mean that. So you're risking your life. So all of us, myself and my elder brother and my younger brother as well, he was in the military service, we all left the service and we stayed away. And in that time when I saw the pressure on the people being, what we can say, minimized because of the pressure of the America and their allies, the Americans and their allies. And Saddam was weak in that time. So coming to my mind, this nation, which I mean our nation, the Iraqi Shias at that time, I felt that in this time, if we not uprise, it's mean we are a dead nation. But I've been fully hope that this ummah will uprise, because I believe Shia never die. Always, because Imam Hussain never died, so I believe the Shia nation never die. So my hope came true, and people uprise in the month of Sha'ban, in 15th of Sha'ban, started from the south, started from Karbala, then from Nasiriyah, Najaf, and came to our city day by day. And I remember in that time when people all uprised, and is about the Kurdish sector in the north, they uprised as well, and we are in the middle and in the south uprised. So only 2 cities or 2 sectors from Iraq stayed, because they, as I believe, a lot of people who living in that 2 cities who supporting Saddam that time. So in these 2 cities, that's why they not participate in this uprising. But from 18 cities, we had about 16 cities uprised, 15 or 16 cities uprised. So in that time, the marja, in that time, Ayatollah Khouy, rahmatullahi alayh, arranged to have what is called, is like a managing board from ulama, I think from 9 of ulama, like Sayyid Ja'far Bahr al-Ulum, rahmatullah alayh, Sayyid Rida al-Khilkhali, and Sayyid Muhammad Sabzawari, and so many, about 9, I think 9 of ulama, as a board to manage that time. And they gave every city is like a letter to prepare themselves to arrange for every city as a committee to supervise each city by themselves. And I remember I had a group from my city, and we went to Sayyid al-Khouy house, and I met Sayyid Muhammad Taqi Khouy, as I had a friendship with him for a long time before. And he told me that such a board being organized, and this is letters for every city, and this is this letter for your city as well. You can arrange with your group and manage the city. And in that time, because we've been fighting with the regime and the army, it's a hard fight actually, because Saddam army, one of the strongest army in the area, as they fight Iran, Islamic Republic of Iran, for about 8 years. So we are as innocent people and have no weapon, just very light weapon that we can have from here and there, and we fought with them about 25 days. In that time, I got 2 of my brothers have been martyred, one being injured in the street in the first day, and after a few weeks we lost him. Till today we have no idea where is him. And the second one has been killed in the street, and we buried him in Najaf. Saddam had a very strong army, and we fought with 3 different armies. He started sending the first one from what he got. The second one, he tried to bring us an army from the north part of Iraq and from the west part of Iraq, and he lost, and they lost. The third one, it was what is called the special service, what is called the Republic Haras al-Jumhuri, the Republic Service. They been is like coated by Americans, and they hold them. They didn't dismantle this army, the Americans. They didn't dismantle it. They just kept them for such a propaganda. When they found that the people of Iraq might win this uprising, so they released, after they sat with Swarshov in the south, with the Kuwaiti and Saudis, and with the Iraqi authorities, then they released this special service to them. This is special service, they been powerful and fully is like fully supported. Even they use the special automatic tank, which is called T-72. And our people, we have nothing. We have just the small guns and some things that, as I said, we're getting from here or there. Some soldiers who escaped and got their weapon with them. So we use very light weapon to fight with a very strong army. That's why at the end we couldn't stand, because we believe most of the world, they were against us, supporting Saddam against innocent people. And in that time, it was no media. It's like nowadays, that all the channels can video and can like broadcast what happened there. And I think even if there is a media, no one will broadcast about us. The uprising has an effect on me, because I always was hoping of even a 1 minute of freedom in Iraq. And I felt that for 25 days, even with the fire, with the blood, with the torture and hardness, with all of these things. But I felt the freedom. 25 days, I felt even the smell of the air has been changed, because we had no tyrants in that time. Only other people together and fighting with the other side. But inside our city, actually no one had a power on us. We run our days, our time, even we manage the rules in the city. So I felt the first time in my life, I felt and I smelled the freedom.
أيها الثوار أيها الثوار طاردوهم حيثما يكونوا يا أبناء كربلاء المقدسة أيها الشرفاء طاردوا فلول العدو أيها المجاهدون امسكوا هؤلاء الطغاة.
Is very hard to take off a tree and try to put it somewhere else. If you take it off to try to put it somewhere else to grow up, most of the time will never success. So I feel we are like this. It's very hard, but under all this pressure and suffering from torture and attacking our families, our women, like sister, wife, mother, daughter. So it's so hard. Therefore, we decide to leave Iraq. So in that time, we left Iraq. We stay here and there till we find our way, and we came toward UK, and we live in UK since there. The difference, as I said, for us, as we lived and our childhood and our is like teenage time, we lived in Iraq, so it's very hard, like to compromise and just here. I think for myself actually, it's so hard to try to compromise and to live. Is a different things that we need. So especially when we, after 2003, when we went back to Iraq, I cried when I went there the first time. Yeah, because it's so hard. So I went there with a big, huge happiness. And I entered the border, and I found myself in Iraq at that time. And especially the first day I entered the border, I heard everyone happy, shouting, and start shooting. So when I asked what's happened, they said Saddam been arrested. Subhanallah. The first day I entered the border of Iraq, it was, I think, it was in the end, yeah, in the end of 2003. Yeah, in the end, I'm beginning 2004 in that time. Yeah. So I've been so happy entering Iraq and hearing that Saddam been arrested. I think everybody as a Shia inspired by Imam Hussein, but it's depend on the environment and the time that they are living there. When I was young, so in that time of Saddam regime and being oppressed and put under pressure, so there is a words and meanings of Imam Hussein school we learn. So normally people learn of his patience, learn from his stability, learn from his insistence on the right things, and learn how to insist on your beliefs even if you got tortured or even if you lose your life. So we learn the meanings of staying alive as I said, a living nation. So even if there's someone torture you or put a pressure in you, but you still practice your beliefs and you insist more in your beliefs. So I've been inspired by Imam Hussein to remember these meanings from him in that time. But if we come to nowadays, it's like we're living in Europe, there is other meanings we can get from Imam Hussein. In our life, we can get the things like being honest, respect words, respect time, being organized, such a meanings that we need it in a Western society, and to show how Imam Hussein was. So when we talk about Imam Hussein, others looking to us to show the message of Imam Hussein. So it's different. Before we being under pressure, now we had freedom. So we had another kind of a practicing we need to show the people that we live with. There is so many characters in the day of Ashura. When we remember the young people, we can look at Ali al-Akbar, we can look at of Qasim, alayhim salam. When we look out to the people with sins and getting maghfirah, forgiveness, so we can look at Hurr ibn Yazid al-Riyahi. Or if we remember people from other school and turning to other school, we can look at Zuhair ibn al-Qayn. But I'm always, my heart linked to someone. My heart always linked to Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas. Salamullahi alayhi. Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas got such a character that, let me put it in this way. Imam Hussein alayhi salam, one of the Ahl al-Bayt, and he's a ma'soom with asma. It's not only easy, it's not only not easy, but it is so difficult to create a place and a name beside Hussein. It's not easy. But Abbas has done that. The relationship with Imam Hussein, for me, to change from childhood and from middle age to that's age when you get older and older with the knowledge. By getting more knowledge and more experience about what is there, what's about Imam Hussein, the relationship, I think, is getting more stronger. And through the early years of my life, it was like emotion in the beginning. As a young, linked to Imam Hussein, going to majalis. As a young, is like with anger, sometime against tyrants. But now, when I'm getting older, it's getting more and more. So now I believe that the only what I need in the last day, I need to see Imam Hussein face.